The food of Mexico combines influences brought by the Spanish conquistadors with a diverse range of native culinary ingredients. It is full of intense flavors, is rich in variety, and steeped in ancient tradition. Join us as we explore the cultural flavors of Mexico. Mexico is located at the southern tip of the North American continent and is home to more than 100 million people. The Tropic of Cancer cuts right through the country, and its tropical climate is responsible for an immensely varied biodiversity. Amazingly, Mexico is home to 10% of the world's species. With so many natural resources, it's no surprise that Mexico is responsible for introducing the rest of the world to so many delicious foods that are now considered invaluable by so many other cultures.
Mexican food is based on a few different ingredients. From the Aztecs to the Spanish, it's just a mix of ingredients, especially with the Aztecs, the influence of the Aztecs with the corn, the beans, the chili, and a bit of the influence between the Spanish with a bit of tomato, coriander. It's an intensive food. Depends where you are, from Mexico and south to north, and especially Mexican loves the chili. That's why there's so many different types of chilies in Mexico.
By the time the Spanish arrived in the 15th century, advanced civilizations had lived in the region for thousands of years, and they were noted for their exceptional understanding of architecture, mathematics, art, theology, and cuisine. It is, after all, the Aztecs that we have to thank for that fine delicacy that we all call chocolate. Not to be confused with the Americanized Tex-Mex, Mexican cuisine is a fusion of indigenous tradition and the culinary influences of its Spanish colonists. The herbs and spices used in Mexican cooking are varied and differ between the regions. Also, a Spanish and then French influence introduced European flavors to the Mexican palate. Of course, chilies are the most famous Mexican ingredient, and they are used in dishes right across the country. There are many varieties of chili eaten in a range of colors, flavors, and strengths, and they are often used in combination to flavor particular dishes. Chilies are most often found in sauces and salsas. A very versatile spice, the chili is added fresh in many dishes, but can be found pickled and eaten on its own, or as part of a dish, even dried and powdered. Coriander leaves are used in fresh green salsas, as well as several other cooked and fresh salsas. It is also common in bean and rice dishes, soups, stews, and moles. Less frequently, the seeds are ground and added to stews. In Mexico, coriander is called cilantro and is an important ingredient of guacamole. Used whole or ground in a wide variety of Mexican stews and soups, cumin is loved for its aromatic flavor and is one of the country's most widely used spices, especially when cooking meats. Popular European herbs like marjoram, thyme, and oregano are found in many tomato-based dishes and chowders. They are most often added to dishes dried, oregano being the most often used by far. The Spanish brought black pepper, onion, and garlic to Mexico, and they are now an important part of the Mexican food vocabulary. Many dishes use onion or onion powder, and garlic is valued for its distinct flavor. Although not native to Mexico, cinnamon is a common spice flavoring many desserts. Of course, chocolate is part and parcel of the Mexican dessert diet, and cinnamon is an excellent complement along with fruit and nuts. A spice that is native to Mexico is vanilla. The vanilla pod is used to flavor cakes, custards, and desserts like this delicious Mexican flan we will cook later in the show. Of course, there are many more spices and herbs used in Mexican cuisine, some native, some introduced, but all adding to the cultural flavors of Mexico. Literally meaning eggs, ranch style, huevos rancheros is a hearty country breakfast that was traditionally served up to hungry workers on rural farms.
Huevos rancheros are very popular. It's one of the main breakfasts in all around Mexico, actually. It's a different ways to make huevos rancheros. A lot of people, and especially in north of Mexico, they use more the corn tortilla. The huevos rancheros, it could be as a dry tomato, or could be like a salsa. And it's quite a rich breakfast that the rancheros used to love, coming back from after a big journey in the morning, come back 11 o'clock, and they were expecting a nice breakfast. That's when they made the huevos rancheros.
To create this tasty morning meal for one, we're using a spicy Mexican sausage, a few eggs and tortilla. We've chosen fresh pecorino, but any cheese would do. You also need a touch of cream. A few basic ingredients are required to prepare a fresh salsa, and of course don't forget a little chili. The first step in making this hearty Mexican breakfast is to prepare a fresh tomato salsa. Remove the stalk from the tomato, cut it in half, then dice both halves. Do the same with the rest of your tomatoes and put them into a bowl. Take a large red onion, cut it in half, peel it, and then dice this also. Add the onion to the tomato. Next, cut a small section from a cucumber and using a potato peeler, carefully peel the cucumber. Then slice it lengthwise a few times and then into small cubes. Add the diced cucumber to the bowl. Grab a bunch of coriander, then take a few sprigs, fold them in half and roughly chop them. Place these on top of the other salsa ingredients.
Now that's it for the salsa. Now what we're gonna do is grab a bit of olive oil. Then we just season it with a bit of salt and cracked pepper. And the following thing you do is just mix it up.
Give the salsa a good mix and put it to one side. Now, to get going with the main breakfast. Slice a spicy Mexican sausage into small pieces. Then place the sausage onto a small round baking tray that has been covered with silver foil. Pop the sausage into a preheated oven at around 180 degrees. Next, take 2 tortillas and place these onto a similar foil-covered baking tray. Slice off some generous portions of cheese. We're using pecorino and place them on top of the tortilla.
And the last thing we need to do is just make some scrambled eggs. So pour about 3 eggs, season it with salt and pepper, bit of cream, and we get a bit of parsley. Now we can do a bit of chili, and now we give the eggs a very good mix. Now we're ready for cooking.
Just before you start cooking, you should place the tortilla into the hot oven alongside the sausage. Heat a frying pan to a moderate temperature, then pour in some olive oil and then fry your salsa till the tomato begins to cook through. When ready, put aside for a little later. To the same saucepan, add a wedge of butter and once this is melted, pour in your scrambled egg mixture. Mix the eggs well with a spatula and keep an eye on them. They will cook quickly. By now, your sausage and tortilla should be ready to go, so carefully remove them from the oven. To serve, place your scrambled eggs over the bread and liberally cover the egg with slices of sausage. Finally, pour the salsa over everything. Huevos rancheros, a hearty breakfast straight from the country kitchens of Mexico that will satisfy everyone, no matter where they are. Coming up on Cultural Flavours, we prepare a tasty toasted sandwich, Mexico style, and experience a sweet Mexican tradition. Tinga de pollo literally means spicy stewed chicken tostadas. It is quick and easy to prepare and makes the perfect midday snack.
Tinga de pollo actually was a dish that my nana used to make since I was little. I used to love it. It's part of the, I think, my family tradition. There's that typical dish that's quite rich with the tomato sauce, tomato salsa, and the chilies and the spices. And since I grew up with that kind of meal. And, you know, it's a typical Mexican meal. It's a beautiful, rich meal consisting in tomato, onion, the sauce, the shredded chicken. It's just an amazing and rich flavor.
Today we'll show you how to prepare enough ingredients to feed around 4 hungry guests. Of course, you'll need some chicken breasts, an 8-corn tortilla, along with a few other ingredients that form the topping to the tostada. For the salsa, you'll need about 5 medium-sized tomatoes, a brown onion and some garlic. Chipotle is an authentic condiment made from smoked-dried jalapenos. Your first step in preparing tinga de pollo is to chop an onion. Cut a brown onion in half, peel it, and then cut the onion into fine slithers, like so. Do the same with both halves and put it aside for later. We'll use the onion when we come to cook the chicken. Take a large, flat baking tray and line the base thoroughly with olive oil. Then place your chicken breasts onto the tray, lightly drizzle olive oil over the fillets and season with ground black pepper and a pinch of salt.
Now what we're gonna do is just cover the chicken with foil and put in the oven at 260 degrees for about 17 minutes.
Now is the time to start work on a tangy salsa sauce, which we will use to marinate our chicken. Peel a clove of garlic and place it into the food blender. Next, take a tomato, remove its stalk, chop it in half, and add this to the garlic. Do the same with the rest of the tomatoes, about 4 more in total. Add about 2 tablespoons of chipotle. This will give the sauce a smoky and spicy flavor. Then, season with a good pinch of salt. Finally, pour about a cup of water over the ingredients before blending until the contents become a fine liquid. Set this aside for later. We will now prepare the toppings for our tostadas. Finally, slice some iceberg lettuce, then take some feta cheese and dice it into small cubes. By now, your chicken should be ready to remove from the oven. Using your fingers, shred the chicken into small pieces. This should be quite easy to do while the chicken is still warm and moist. Now we can start the process of stewing the chicken. Heat a pan to a medium heat and drizzle with oil. Add the onion slices and allow them to cook gently. Keep turning them to ensure that they do not burn. Once the onions have browned slightly, pour the tomato salsa that we prepared earlier over them. Give the sauce a stir, cover, and allow the tomatoes to cook through. Once the sauce has changed color, you can add the shredded chicken to the pan. Stir in well and ensure that all the chicken is covered with sauce. Cover and allow to cook for a few minutes. Meanwhile, place some corn tortilla onto a foil-covered baking tray. Lightly cover these with olive oil before placing in a hot oven for a few minutes.
Now, the final stage is to put the tortilla in place, put a bit of lettuce, not too much, just a little bit, just to give a bit of flavor. We put the tinga de pollo on top. We just put a bit on top of sour cream. Then top it up with a bit of feta cheese. Nice, and add a bit of salt into the dish. Then finally, we put a bit of avocado, cut in slices, just to give the final touch. Then we put it in on top.
Tinga de pollo, a healthy snack featuring a number of authentic ingredients that truly reflect the cultural heritage of Mexico. Next on Cultural Flavours, we uncover the essential ingredients of Mexican cuisine and reveal a slice of gold. Mexican food is one of those unique cuisines that has established a reputation as one of classic flavours. Like French or Japanese, the food of Mexico is popular right around the world. So what is Mexican food and why is it so popular? Mexico is a land that is rich in produce. Produce that has influenced the cooking of the entire globe. Let's take a look at some of Mexico's gifts to the culinary world. First of all, corn or maize. Native to Mexico, corn was first cultivated and eaten by the Aztecs and Mayans, and is now the most cultivated grain in the Americas. Eaten fresh off the cob as a side dish or used as an ingredient, corn is the staple grain of the country. In Mexico, maize is ground into flour and used to make famous Mexican treats like cornbread and tortilla. Tortillas are the basis for many traditional and recognizable Mexican dishes. Classics like enchiladas, flautas, tostadas, tacos, and even nachos chips are all based on the maize or corn tortilla. Many associate tomatoes with Mexico, and although it is native to South America, the first tomato was actually first used in Peru. It is believed, though, that tomatoes were first cultivated in Mexico by the Aztecs in central Mexico, and the word tomato actually comes from the Aztec word tomatl, which means swelling fruit. Available in a variety of colors, sizes, and shapes, tomatoes are used in many Mexican dishes, but are probably most famous in salsa. Interestingly, when tomatoes were first taken to the world by the Spanish, they were used as a decoration for over half a century before being incorporated into local cuisines. Tomatoes are not the only unique food from Mexico. The delicious and unusual avocado is a mainstay of Mexican cuisine and the essential ingredient in the famous guacamole, a dip made from avocado, lime juice, salt, and sometimes chili or coriander. There is one Mexican food that has been adopted right across the globe. Enjoyed in Mexico for over 3,000 years, the cacao bean, fermented and dried, then roasted and shelled, is the magic ingredient of chocolate. Named chocolate by the Spanish, the people of Mexico have savoured the unique flavours of this unusual plant since about 1100 BC. Although not always used in the form we know it, chocolate was originally a somewhat bitter drink. Over years of refining and experimentation, the delicious sweet chocolate we all know and love is part of life on every continent of the globe. Desserts have always been very popular across all of Mexico, and locals enjoy a great variety of tasty sweets. One of the most famous is the classic Mexican flan. Originally introduced by the conquistadors of Spain, the flan has become so synonymous with Central America that now this delicious dessert is actually called Mexican flan.
The Mexican flan, it is a Spanish influence, but Mexicans took over and changed the ingredients a little bit. They play with the ingredients, especially using the cheese, which the Spanish never did, which makes it authentic, you know, makes it different. It's more rich, it's got more flavor than the typical Spanish flan. That's why we adopt the Mexican flan, and that's why people call it Mexican flan.
The classic Mexican flan is one of the easiest desserts to prepare. It's made from a combination of a few simple dairy products such as condensed and evaporated milk, as well as cream cheese. You'll also require caster sugar, vanilla essence and fresh summer fruits. Bear in mind that you will need a pressure cooker in order to complete this recipe, which should make around 10 servings. First, take an electric blender and crack an egg into it. You'll need 6 eggs, all of which should be cracked straight into the blender. Once you have added all your eggs, place about 100 grams of cream cheese into the blender. Then pour about 125 ml of condensed milk and about the same amount of evaporated milk into the mix.
Now the last thing we need to do is to put a vanilla essence into the blender. Just 1 teaspoon. Cover it up and blend it for about a minute.
Take your caster sugar and evenly line the base of a circular baking tin with about 4 dessert spoons of sugar. Light your stove and place the baking tray directly over a moderate heat. Gently but frequently agitate the sugar until the sugar turns into a dark caramel-coloured liquid. It is important that you don't let the caramel burn, as this will ruin its flavour. Put a large pressure cooker onto the stove and place the baking tray inside at the base of the pressure cooker. Now you can add the vanilla cream we made earlier by carefully pouring it into the baking tray. Once you've done this, pop the lid on the pressure cooker and seal its lid tight. You will need to allow the flan to cook for just 15 minutes only. Mexican flans go perfectly with fresh fruit and berries. To prepare these, take a strawberry and slice off its top. Turn it upside down, then carefully slice it lengthwise, but not all the way through. Now spread the strawberry wide like so, and add as many strawberries as you like. When ready, remove the tin and place it upside down on a large plate. Carefully remove it, then spoon any remaining caramel over the top of the flan. Finally, cut into triangles and enjoy with fresh summer fruit and a strong shot of espresso. The food of Mexico is a combination of influences from both the New and Old worlds. Christopher Columbus and the conquistadors introduced many new staples to its shores, yet, even to this day, it is the original food of the indigenous people that still plays the greatest role in defining Mexican food culture. Corn, avocado, vanilla, and of course chocolate, to name just a few, all originated from pre-Columbian Mexico. Yet all these ingredients could easily be considered staples of any number of other countries. Known for its varied flavours, colourful decoration and wide variety of ingredients, Mexican food continues to grow in popularity around the world. Cultural Flavours continues to explore the world through the diversity of food. From Nepal to Japan, France to Korea, let Cultural Flavours take you on a gastronomic journey so you can experience the tastes of the globe at home.